Hi, have you been wondering how the role of instructional designer has been impacted by this AI driven world that we are now living in? If so, you are in the right place because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So, what we're covering today, first, we're going to talk about how our role as instructional designer is being impacted by AI. Then, we're going to talk about some of the tasks that we do as instructional designers, how those can be enhanced with AI. And then, we're going to talk about how you can get educated in AI so that you can be an AI instructional designer. All right. So hopefully that sounds good. So, do I really need to know AI? I get this question a lot like, oh, do you think it's going to take my job? Do you think I really need to know it? And what's really interesting to me is that there are so many people that I run into there. It's like, oh, AI, I haven't even looked into it yet. I mean, I know what it is, but I haven't played with anything, right? There's a little bit of resistance to adopting this new tool. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I think AI is here to stay. And I think it's going to help us in the long run. So, my answer is yes, you absolutely need to know how to use AI in your job as an instructional designer, really in any job, whether that's a virtual assistant, a project manager, an IT software developer. Everyone, I believe, needs to know how to enhance their productivity with artificial intelligence unless you want to go the way of Blockbuster or BlackBerry or Kodak, right? Those were companies that failed to change with the changes that were happening in their spaces. So yes, absolutely. I feel like you need to embrace AI. So let's talk about how you can benefit from AI or how you can use it in your role. So, what is expected of you as an instructional designer in this AI driven world, right? What changes for you or what are the expectations that might change for you? And maybe it's not a change. Let me talk about that in just a second though. We are expected to be able to produce things faster, create things that are creative, to be able to support our work with AI backed tools, right? So I was half joking whenever I said maybe it isn't changing. And that's because a lot of times, as instructional designers, if you've been doing this for work for any length of time, you will encounter people that are just shocked by how long it takes for our work to happen, right? If you tell them like, "Oh, I need about 20 hours to develop a script for, that training." They're like, "What? Why does that take so long?" So maybe now that we have AI to help us, maybe we can like, find some median in how long people expect it to take and how long it really takes. So that was really just kind of a joke, probably not a very good one, but it made me laugh. All right. Okay. So let's talk now about some of our instructional design tasks that are actually impacted by AI. So, in this section, we're going to talk about the different things that we do as instructional designers, and we're really going to focus on using tools like ChatGPT. That's obviously not the only player out there, but it is one of my top two that I use on a daily basis. So, I thought it would be worthwhile to discuss this or share this with you. So, as an instructional designer, we often do a lot of research, right? And ChatGPT is a great way to help us research things faster. So, a lot of times in the past, I would go out and I would get books, I would search articles, I would watch videos, I would spend hours upon hours doing research. Now, I'm not saying that I don't do those things anymore. I do, but I supplement some of that process with ChatGPT because it can really expedite some parts of that for me, right? Okay, so because we're going to be using ChatGPT, I do want to take a moment and just introduce you to the structure of a prompt in ChatGPT. The way that ChatGPT works is that you enter a prompt, so you give ChatGPT some information, then it's going to come back with some information for you. A lot of times you have to finesse your original prompt to get the result that you want. So know that a lot of times you have to kind of change these prompts. But whenever you're working with a prompt, there are three essential components of this prompt. Number one is you want to know the role or the actor. You want to know what the task is, and you want to give some instructions. So, this is kind of the format of a good prompt. as we go through and we talk about some of these ID tasks that we do as instructional designers that can be enhanced by AI, you will see examples of prompts and you'll see where we've pointed out what the role is, what the task is, and what the instructions are, so that we can kind of be educating you about prompts at the same time we're giving you examples of prompts that you could take back and use in your work. So, as I said before, as an instructional designer, we often spend hours upon hours doing research. But now with ChatGPT, I can do things a lot faster. So here's a prompt, and I want you to imagine that you are an instructional designer and your boss just came to you and said, "Hey, Katie, I need you to build an e learning course on leadership development to help develop our emerging leaders here in this organization." So you have different paths that you could use for your research. You could go out and look at blogs. You could go look, buy some leadership books. You could listen to leadership books on Audible. You can watch videos, right? There are all different kinds of places that you could go and find information about leadership. But you could also just go into Chat GPT. So here's a prompt as an example. And again, remember there are three parts to a good prompt. You've got a role or your actor, you've got the task you're asking for, and you're going to give some specific instructions. So I want you to keep that in mind as we take a look at this prompt in more detail. So, as the head of learning development, that is the role. What are the most common needs and areas of focus in a leadership development program, right? So that's our task. What are those most common needs and areas of focus in a leadership development program that can be addressed through an e-learning course? So what I'm really asking here is for ChatGPT to help me identify what are those common areas or common needs in a leadership development program. What are those things that plague an organization that I could look to evaluate to see if those would be a good fit for my leadership development program. So that's going to pull up a list, and I tested all of these prompts. So I have examples, responses everywhere. We're not going to cover those because we're in a really short, 30-minute session. So you could copy this prompt and go test it for yourself, and I encourage you to do that. And I would love to hear back from you to hear, what kind of results you're getting or if you got stuck. I can also share with you that there is a difference in the type of result you'll get between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4. I'm a 4 user because it has more information behind it that makes my results a little bit better. So that's why I like to use it. So the next area of instructional design that is impacted by AI or could be enhanced by AI, I want to say the word enhanced because we're not really impacted, we're enhanced with this new tool. And so I want to put a positive light on the use of the tool versus making it sound like, there's a negative around it. So the next area or task that we can use AI for is to help us write learning outcomes. So here in this example, I've got a role, which is the instructional designer. And then in my task, I'm saying, can you rewrite the following objectives as learning outcomes, right? So there is a difference between an objective and an outcome. And in my instructions, I'm saying use the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy to assess the adult learner's competency in cybersecurity. And I gave it some starter objectives. So these objectives are not like written in a great format. So that's one of the reasons that I said to use those higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And I probably should have even clarified that more, saying, starting with a strong action verb. So I could have added that instruction in there. So again, I put this into ChatGPT. It probably takes me about 5 minutes to write this prompt. And then in seconds, like in 3 seconds or 4 seconds or 5 seconds, I've got some really nice learning outcomes that I can look at, evaluate, and see what I want to use, what I want to tweak, or ask ChatGPT for another set. Or maybe I say I like objective 1, but I don't like 3. Can you write another example for 3? So what would have taken me 30 minutes, 45 minutes in the past, maybe I'm finished in 10 or 15 minutes now. So it really enhances my process by speeding it up for me because I don't have to generate everything on my own. It's like I have this built in support tool, which is really fantastic. All right, so another area of instructional design that is enhanced by using AI tools like ChatGPT is outlining. So I always believe that you should have a good outline. I structure all of my courses with a good outline, thinking about the engagement activities and things like that. So it's a great place for us to go into ChatGPT to see what kind of information that we can get. And like many others in our space that you're hearing things like human, AI, human, right? There is a human element to this. There is an AI element to this. And then there's always an end with a human element. My personal opinion is that you should never take exactly what you have in that AI produced and use it as is. You should always take it and make it your own, right? You don't want to just copy and paste from AI. You want to use it as starter material that you then finesse and make better. So let's look at this outlining prompt. So I have my role as an instructional designer. My task is write an outline for a 20-minute e-learning course on empathy at work. Then the instructions are that addresses the following three outcomes. And then I've listed my three outcomes. And again, it might have taken me 5 minutes to write this prompt. And then, a few seconds later, I have an outline that I can look at. And again, I can go back into Chat GPT and ask for modifications. I can say, hey, take item 4 about demonstrating empathy with your coworkers and create an engagement activity around that. So I can build upon the results that I get in Chat GPT to again help expedite my process. So something that would have taken me, a few hours before, now maybe I'm done in 30 minutes. So again, this is enhancing our process. Next up, we have scripting. So notice that some of these prompts are getting a lot bigger. I'm also asking ChatGPT to give me a bigger result. So I need to get super detailed to get closer to the result that I am looking for as an output. So in this scripting prompt, again, I have my role, act as an instructional designer. And then my task is write a script for a 10-minute fireside chat presentation. And my instructions are, these are all color coded if you haven't noticed that. This presentation is going to be led by an expert course presentation designer that covers the following three learning objectives. So that's going to give me a script that I can then use as a starting point to craft a script for a 10-minute fireside chat that I need to develop for one of my clients. So it's a really pretty cool, all the things that we can do using AI to enhance our work and speed things up. And I don't know about you. I mean, I have a bias to efficiency. So I really like things that take out some of the things that slow me down. But it's fun to get to the end result faster because I like the achievement. I joke that I'm an achievement junkie. And so, having the opportunity to build more, build faster, get more done, I find that really exciting. And I hope that you do too. All right, so let's look at another. As instructional designers, we often have to interview our subject matter experts. Sometimes we are super fortunate that we have a subject matter expert. We don't always get them as instructional designers, as many of you know. So, in the event that you are fortunate to get to work with a subject matter expert to help you develop your course, you need to interview them, right? You need to ask them questions. So we can go into Chat GPT and ask for some ideas about what are some interview questions that we could use for a training. So here I've got my role, again, acting as an instructional designer, and my task is write 7 interview questions for a subject matter expert on the topic of sales in my instructions for a course on maximizing your personal sales. The target audience for this course is new retail associates in a women's boutique, and the learning objectives are, and then I list my learning objectives. So then the result of this is that I'm going to get 7 interview questions. Again, I might like all of them and just want to make modifications. I might only like a few of them. So I might either need to refine my prompt or I might need to ask, hey, can you give me another idea for option two? And it would give you another idea for option two. So again, this is things that I would have said, spent a lot of time on thinking like, okay, so here are my objectives. What are the questions that are going to help me get to the root of these or help me identify the behavior change? And that would have taken me some time to think about. So this prompt would take what, 5-10 minutes. Then I put it into Chat GPT. I get that information in a matter of seconds. Then I can work with those 7 questions, make adjustments. In less than an hour, I have my 7 interview questions. I might even have my meeting scheduled with the subject matter expert and on the calendar within that hour because it can help speed up so many things. And then identifying engagement activities. I love this one, and this is going to be the last one that I walk you through. But if you want ideas of how to engage an audience in any medium, you can use ChatGPT for your ideas. So my role here is as an e-learning developer, identify 3 engagement activities for a course built in Storyline 360 on a company's mission and values. Now, if this was a course I was working on for real, I would have put more details in there about what that course was, but I just created something generic. Whenever I did this, though, it gave me 3 really great engagement activities. So it talked about, drag and drop activities. It talked about knowledge checks. I mean, it really had some good examples. I was surprised to find that it knew so much about the capabilities of Storyline. So that was really great. Now, I would love to hear from you all. Are there any other instructional design tasks that you have been using AI for or that you would like to use AI for? I've used it for other instructional design tasks, but as always, we're in a very condensed session, so I can't put everything out there. So now let's kind of shift gears and talk about how you can become an AI skilled instructional designer. So obviously, you could watch this video again and you'll have this information. But there are some other ways that you can do this. So, for those of you that are aspiring instructional designers and you are just now doing your work to become an instructional designer and getting skilled up in instructional design, you can choose an instructional design certificate program that includes AI. For example, our Instructional Design and Tech Accelerator program, our new version that is launching in September, the beginning of September, now has a component related to AI. Because as much as you need to know everything about instructional design, about doing good instructional design and knowing the how to, you also need to know how to bring AI into it because that's just the world that we live in and that is not going to change. So if you are looking for an ID certificate program that includes AI, send me a DM. I'll be happy to tell you about ours and when we're launching that new program. And then follow industry leaders who are using AI in their instructional design work or in L&D. So you can follow us, the Instructional Design Company, stay here in our community, check out our website, check out YouTube, and then follow people like Josh Cavalier. I think that he is a leader in this space. He is super knowledgeable when it comes to using AI. Some of the prompts that I have seen him use are just like, wow, really cool that you can get that outcome, but wow, how did you even know how to write that prompt? So I would really encourage everyone to follow him. He's got a download of 150 L&D prompts on his website, joshcavalier.com. So he's really doing some good stuff. So I would encourage you to follow people like Josh. You can find him on LinkedIn too. And then, of course, check out our AI tools video that we have out on our YouTube channel. How are you currently using AI as an instructional designer? If you are an instructional designer, if you are just working on becoming an instructional designer, how are you using AI in your work now or in your personal life?